I like I like that when you hear that a lot. Look, I've forgiven you. Have a great life, but I haven't forgot what you did. And it's like that is a crock of shit. Pardon my French. But
No, for that point, you have to take care of yourself. They're going to think what they want to think. You develop yourself into the man or the woman that their actions prove anybody's words wrong. You can't stop living.
all right, Deadbeat Nation. Today's episode isn't about feelings, it's about foundations. Because there's a difference between being hurt and being hollow. And if you've ever walked through alienation, divorce, betrayal, addiction, or just the slow erosion of your identity as a man, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Today we're sitting down with Cameron Kellogg, father, business owner, and the man behind The Aware Man. He doesn't coach from theory, he coaches from scars. He's lived the nice guy life. He's lost. He's rebuilt. And now he helps alienated parents and driven men stop collapsing under pressure, stop outsourcing their backbones, and start becoming solid again. No fluff, no victim stories, no endless processing circles, just truth, discipline, ownership, and the work it takes to rise. So if you're tired of being the agreeable guy who gets erased, if you're done confusing passivity with peace, if you want to become dangerous in the healthiest way possible, this conversation is going to punch you in the chest and hand you a mirror. Let's get to it. Cameron, welcome to the Deadbeat Chronicles. Cameron, I'm definitely glad that we hooked up as I started diving into this arena in social media. Parental alienation, custody battles, legislative issues from state to state. Um, Cameron, tell me a little bit about, and this may be a redundant question. Hey, how did you get into this situation? I suppose we all got our asses kicked as dads. That's how we got into this situation.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to get down to the root of it, it's childhood abandonment from ages 1 to 5, typically, which turns into nice guy, which turns into a very self-hating, angry person. And these nice guys attract, I'm not going to say a narcissist, but somebody with a lot of narcissistic tendencies. So that's where it actually starts because you're picking a mate, a partner from wounds, besides the fact it's generational. So you just have everything working against you. Um, I mean, that's really where it starts. The alienation itself is kind of a symptom. It's everything before that. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. It does. It seems like a lot of these, let's all go maybe stem, or maybe let's start with relationship issues to begin with. Those relationship issues are oftentimes stemming from something before the relationship even got together, right? It's
Absolutely.
we've all heard things like um work on yourself before you get into a relationship, or work on yourself after a divorce before you get into another relationship, which makes sense. It totally does. And you're talking about alienation being a byproduct of something. I totally agree. I do that when we talk about the courts and
Oh, yes.
family law and family courts and things like that. That's not where the resolutions lie. The mantra of the Deadbeat Chronicles I really want to push is a moving of the needle in our society to a more proactive place. Let's have these conversations, cautionary tales, and proactive solution conversations before we ever get into relationships. Before we, and I say we as our nation,
Exactly. I mean, it's
America, right?
another root problem is self-love. With the way our society is, it's everything's disposable, everything's filtered, everything's fake online. Everybody's trying to keep up with everybody else, which is fake anyways, but it's I mean, you can tell how much self-love is lacking with all the filtering people do with their pictures. People do not like themselves. And that is, again, another one of the root problems. And then people go into relationships not liking themselves, so they can't like anybody else. And I don't know, I'm single and out there in the dating world kind of, but it's just a mess. It's society has put men and women against each other. So it's a war.
Very much so. Very much so. It doesn't have to be that way, and I think we see
No,
a
not
lot of
at
success.
all.
I think we see a lot of success stories out there with great relationships and great families, great blended families on the second go, maybe even third go around, right?
Right.
But you're right. You make a very good point, Cameron. The self-loathing instead of the self-love is sure a mantra that's going on in entertainment, politics to a certain degree, definitely social media, and my favorite, education.
Ugh.
School districts don't look at America, definitely don't look at America the same way, and they don't look at Christianity in a good light at all. And I'm not super Christian, don't I say that often. I don't mean to sound like this ultimate Bible study expert and things like this, but when we talk about just general basic virtues, they come from the Bible. And those that might try to say that they just come from some imaginary selective source, I think that's the root of the problem right there. Right at the base, we've got entities, departments in our country, be it educational and other political machines, that are anti-Christian. They are literally anti-Christian. How do would you agree with
Well, I
that?
mean, they took the Pledge of Allegiance out. You're not allowed to have anything religious in school unless they took Christianity out. You can't talk about God. They don't, like I said, they don't say the Pledge of Allegiance anymore. That's been stripped from the schools. But now the other countries and people that practice other religions can bring that into the schools. They can not do a class or have special permission for something to not do something because of their religion. But if you bring anything Christianity or God in there, as we know it or practice it, it's gone. It's not allowed. So, and then that's what I believe is just for control. They want to control these kids. They want to steer them towards a certain political view or whatever it may be, but it comes back down to control.
Yeah. There it seems to be an awful lot of celebrating and protecting the disenfranchised. Just a gigantic push to want to not dehumanize every individual, even if that individual out of 350 million is one. Now, on the surface, that sounds good, right? On the surface, we want to protect everyone, we want to include everyone, and all of these things. But at some point, doesn't that become divide? Doesn't that become the opposite direction of a word that a lot of people fear, assimilation? We all don't want to be the exact same individual. We're America, but at the same time, we're one nation under God. That's the way we were built 250 years ago.
Right.
And the the chaos that's going on today. Like here you and I are talking about ultimately, let's say, families, co-parenting, custody, alienation issues, and then what the problems are coming in from the outside that contribute to that. 25, 30 years ago, it was bad enough, right? We're humans. It's tough to raise us, even under our own roofs. We get different
Right.
personalities, kids. the pressures of finance and goals, other interests and achievements. Now, the arguments that technology, social media through technology has brought, and the movements of the far left. I'm not talking Democrats. I'm not talking Republicans. I'm talking the far extremes, even on both sides. It's just,
Well,
it,
the gender bullshit and all that shit they're dragging through schools, and same-sex bathrooms and all of this shit is gotta go. I mean, it's again, it just goes back to what you think of yourself. And it shows how off track a lot of people are getting. It's and I don't apologize for it. It's you're a boy or a girl. Now they're bringing in all this other gender stuff and allowing children to change their sex, and it's a mess.
I would agree. I on this one, I cannot disagree. And it's a very polarized argument. Um, we've got a movement of people that want to redefine and accept things their way. And what's worst is they want everyone else to do the same thing. And I think that's the rub, right? That everyone is supposed to accept something that we don't believe blindly. And the folks that align themselves with that belief, look, I feel that I am looked down upon if I enter that arena. Now, I really don't care to enter that arena. I'm going on with my life. So I feel like if I'm in that arena, somehow I got dragged into it. I got pulled into it. And I also feel that there's a lot of movement and push to pull us there. It's not live and let live at all.
No, it's then that may have something to do with the lack of accountability in the world. You know, I mean, as far as being dragged into it, we all have our part in everything. So
Hmm.
if we're getting dragged into something, we're allowing it over something, over lack of awareness or lack of self-love or whatever it may be. Um, we all have to take responsibility for ourselves.
What we're talking about, it's going to trail off like co-parenting, custody battles, parental alienation. There's a lot of things going on in this world that are putting pressure on families. There's a lot of things outside of the normal stress of a family, and God forbid a divorce and a breakup. All those normal stresses are amplified so much with all these other political events, current events, all this distraction. If it's not one thing, and it's all over the news. Like when you and I were 14, respectively, 15, 16, I'm sure we probably had our political conversations about local, politics or maybe the president or something. And it was coming down for whatever we learned from our parents, right? But it
Right.
wasn't monopolizing our 24-hour day. And it wasn't the first conversation we had in the morning. It was playing ball. It was riding our skateboards. It was riding our bikes. It was
Yep.
playing Atari, Pong in my age. You know what I mean? But
Well, it
now,
goes down to back to the family values. Men aren't men because they stripped masculinity from the fucking homes. They took away God. Now God, men aren't leading as God meant us to lead. We're not connecting with women the way we're supposed to connect. The self-love's out the fucking door. And how are you supposed to lead a family when you can't lead yourself, when you don't like yourself? And yes, I kind of tend to put it on the men because men are leaders. We're supposed to lead. Well, we don't lead ourselves. We can't lead anybody else because we don't fucking love ourselves. Not to sound like a victim, but men have been beat up, suck it up. We don't need men, whatever the narrative is going on. how can you have a healthy relationship? Because women cannot lead. They're too emotional. That's the way they're supposed to be. That's why God made us the mountain, the steady, the stoic. But nobody's being taught that anymore. So until
Right.
we go back and start making men again that can lead themselves, control themselves, have some discipline, and make good decisions for the family, women aren't going to lead or to follow. Why would they? So until we bring masculinity back, we're fucked.
How do we bring it back? I guess would be the question. That's I see that as a multi-level, multifaceted question right there.
Stop
Respectfully,
making it toxic. And like our circle, I mean, nobody's perfect, but our circle is calm. We've been through the shit, and we start teaching boys how to be men, how God made us to be. Period. You
and
know?
if God made us to be a certain way, how do we reinstill that? I guess it's to take this thought process from, let's say, the base, from the starting line, but we're not at the starting line, are we? We're now a nation after years and years of what you're saying, years and years of putting down masculinity, years and years of promoting secular individual beliefs, years and years of promoting this narrative that is a woke narrative. My definition of woke is very, very accusational, very insulting, without any desire to come to the table and discuss and negotiate anything. It is
No
a very
accountability. They want to
accusate.
blame.
Yeah, just blame, 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 and then the type of dialogue that people feel free to express, very insulting, very, very insulting about someone's beliefs, religious beliefs, political beliefs, family beliefs. We're very tribal. Well, that kind of sports tribal rivalry has gotten into our mainstream society and feels very, very free to say whatever it wants. On the other end, I'm not advocating giving someone five across the eyes when they insult you, but it's still insulting. So how do we stand these? It seems
Right.
like this getting back on track could be multifaceted. Like we've got to address so many different angles, publicly, individually, family, departmentally, organizationally. We're not gonna battle entertainment. Entertainment, Hollywood, and that message that's going out there is just a complete undermining of American values.
Right. And again, going to the what people think. It doesn't matter what people think because most of their negative, angry, judgmental statements are what they feel about themselves. They're angry, they're mad, they're depressed because of who they are, what they do, who they show up as. And this is another place where you start is self-respect. People that, obviously when they're making those comments, they're not respecting anybody, but they're not respecting themselves either. That's where all that negative stuff comes from. How you feel about yourself.
So how do we, again, as a nation, it's so many different parts. How do we get people back to self-love?
Teaching that self-love isn't selfish in the right way, not in a narcissistic way. You need, and this is where this nice guy syndrome comes from. The abandonment as child, you grow up with a not good enough wound, which is, you know, an example of the nice guy is everything's contractual. He's trying to buy love that he thinks he deserves that he's not giving to himself. You got to love yourself first, or you can't love and you can't let anybody love you. I lived 48 years in this angry zombie state. And it all really starts back at loving yourself. May sound weird or whatever you want to call it, but call it whatever you want. You have to like yourself. That's where everything starts. I've lived it.
We both know people that are their self-esteem is pretty darn good. Their confidence level is pretty good. Self-love, pretty good. What would you tell the folks that are really struggling with that self-love? What do we do when we have a 40, 45, 50-year old single parent, divorced parent, went through a custody battle, at one point had the wonderful family, then gets the divorce, then all of a sudden they're bitter enemies. The kids are thrown in the middle of it, and there's been a few years of that. How do you take that individual who the courts, the ex-wife, and possibly the kids, and maybe even other family members and friends have
Right?
put down, have really put down? How do you get someone back to a place of self-love? That pattern. How do you get someone out of that routine and that pattern that they've been in for probably years?
You break the patterns, you start with acknowledging it. Kind of like AA. Got to acknowledge the problem, take a step back, look at yourself, and forgiving yourself for whatever you think you're guilty of. Whether it's something you did, something you didn't do, whatever it may be, whether you should feel guilty or not, you have to start with forgiving yourself for whatever that is. And then you start with a couple boundaries. You have to learn to respect yourself. You have to show up for yourself like you do everybody else. We show up for everybody else, but when it comes to us, we put things off, we procrastinate, we don't do what we say we're going to do for ourselves, or we don't do anything at all. We take care of everybody else and we empty our cup, and then you can't help anybody.
Good point. Good point. And I'll ask again, after that pattern's been going on for a while, and you have divorced mom, divorced dad, non-custodial parent, the non-custodial parent that's trying to do everything they can to stay in the kids' lives, do everything they can to provide for the ex-wife, per or husband, per whatever agreement, visitation agreements, financial agreements, all these things, court orders. Um, when someone is still in that routine, that daily pressure, do you have a kind of a go-to? I for years I would wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, just stressed. And there was a tool that I learned from an author, just using the words out loud. I love myself. I love myself, like out loud, saying it out loud. And then that evolved for me in with Christianity. That involved to my God loves me. My God, which for me was even more powerful ultimately. But I have to give credit to the I love myself for the 4 or 5 years I was doing that, because it worked. It absolutely worked. And folks listening in here, what I'm talking about basically is um when that anxiety, when that self-esteem is so low, God forbid suicidal thoughts, you pull in, you you have to surround yourself. Go out, don't stay secluded. Go out and find some love. Go out, call me, call Cameron. I mean, there are a lot of folks out there, men and women, that are have created a very supportive space for these types of rejections, these types of family stresses, and things like that. So I do. I It's a tough one, finding love for yourself when you've been in that rut for a long time. It's tough to get out.
Well, yeah, you have to kind of wake up. It usually takes, I mean, for guys, I've been working with the nice guy stuff. It'll take a traumatic, life-threatening event to wake a guy up. Um, as far as being in that pattern for so long and being mentally abused, beat up, Yeah, you need support. You need somebody for the first 3, 4 months that you can call that understands, has been through it. And one of the, like your, I love myself exercise. Every time you pass a mirror, you tell yourself you love yourself. Look yourself in the eyes and say, I love you until it doesn't feel awkward because it's going to feel awkward. So that helps a lot to when you can
Yeah,
look yourself in the eyes and say, I love you and mean it, and it doesn't feel weird.
yeah. My path through divorce, alienation, the evolution and growth of the alienation over time, and then my own stumbling blocks, my own mistakes, my own misjudgments. There. I don't know how many guys or crowds are out there that are just kind of calling to bitch and moan, complaining about the situation or the ex or this or that or whatever, and that makes it worse, doesn't it?
Yeah, not taking accountability.
Yeah.
I'm sure you took a step back and said, okay, what did I do? What did I do wrong? Where do I need to heal? Where do I need to fix this? Or, how can I do this different? And but people don't do that. There's no accountability. Everybody's the victim.
Mm-hmm.
Got to take
It.
some accountability.
What happens when, just for as an example, what happens when you are the only one that takes that accountability, and the other folks that are in the scenario, the ex-spouse, potentially in-laws, grandparents, brothers, sisters, that family, and even the kids, when everyone else is victim, 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 no, he hurt me, and oh, I can forgive what you did, so you're forgiven, but I can't forget, so we still can't talk, or something ridiculous like that. I like that when you hear that a lot. Look, I've forgiven you, have a great life, but I haven't forgot what you did, and it's like, that is a crock of shit. Pardon my French, but
No, for that point, you have to take care of yourself. They're going to think what they want to think. You develop yourself into the man or the woman that their actions prove anybody's words wrong. You can't stop living. At that point, your child's an attachment, which is not good for you, not good for them. You're putting the weight of your happiness on your child. You can't do that. You the only person we can control is ourselves. So anybody thinks about anything doesn't fucking matter. All these people hating and throwing out nasty comments or what, it doesn't matter. They don't know you. They don't know what's going on. They don't know what really happened in the marriage. They see what one of the parents are saying. So they don't know. Nobody that's not been through parent alienation, they don't fucking know. They just need to shut up.
I've heard and seen, social media wise, I've heard and seen some comments that are, again, woke. I would categorize the comments as woke when it comes to accusing a non-custodial parent of being guilty and not admitting or taking responsibility for the alienation. And it seems to be a cut and dry. We're going to blame one thing, justify it, and move on. Blame another thing, or go to the next situation. One person's at fault. Go to the next situation. Other person's at fault. Instead of really trying to work it out, these situations keep perpetuating themselves, and it's a larger problem than anyone realizes too across the country. It's a much larger problem affecting, I dare say, millions, not just hundreds of thousands, but millions of families. And as I have delved further into this subject, Cameron, whether my friends, colleagues, acquaintances that I've had for a long time, fellas that I play, softball with, in my opinion, there is a 1 in 3, out of every 3 conversations I have, somebody is going through a custody battle or has already gotten a divorce, and they keep going back for these allegations, accusations, and more custody battle, more financial battle, all these things. How do we shift the trend to promoting American families? Because it seems like everyone gets married with the best intentions, and then all of a sudden, when trouble hits, the dangling carrot to go to is family law, divorce, and a bitter one. It's not what do we do to keep it together, or
Yeah.
how do we dissolve our marriage with kids in the very best light possible. And um, I think I've seen people with the best intentions go into court, and it all goes to hell.
Well, you either have somebody, your friends barking in your ear, or somebody else that's angry and projecting their shit onto you, or you're just two wounded people that are trying to take control over the other. They don't want to lose that control. My ex was very controlling, but then it took probably 4 years to be able to just email back and forth. It was
Mm.
nasty. And that's where your self-development comes in. That is the key. You have these wounded people together because, I mean, everybody I talk to has something
Yeah,
from childhood. There's been so much abuse hidden and secretive in our generation, um, like the No More Mr. Nice Guy book. When men went to war, women took over. Women brought their children to daycare and other people to watch them, which created that abandonment wound. And that's where it all started.
was World War II, you're saying?
Well, it's
Kind of rolling into
the
today's
start
society.
of it. I mean, this
Yeah.
book is old, but it explains why guys are the way they are today. Well, that's where I was
And
going.
what's
So you have abandonment from mothers, which they didn't really abandon them. They just took them to daycare, but it's not their mother taking care of them. So that abandonment starts. Fathers are gone. There's no more masculine in the homes. The daughters don't have their dad. So now we have a bunch of women with daddy issues. We have guys with mommy issues. We have tons of single moms allowing their boys to live on their couch until they're 45 years old. There's just the masculinity needs to be brought back and not in a over controlling, powering way. It's just the
just promote
leadership
it?
of masculinity. Yes.
Just promote it. Well, and okay, how do we overcome that? That's a great point you make. When the systems that we have in place right now, from government to entertainment to technology, have so much about them that is not promoting masculinity. Number one, it is denouncing masculinity to a great degree. How do we overcome that? If the mechanisms of our society are there, how do we, guys like you and I having these conversations? Great. One-on-one conversations with a lot of our friends behind the scenes, great. But how do we create a movement? Aaron Ellis, he has Empower Men movement. You got Robert Garza out there doing his thing on the legislative front. George Saldana in the state of Texas, really pushing buttons, really doing good stuff. Ludwig, I hope I didn't get that name wrong. He's in the federal level, up in Washington, a political advisor who was Mark Ludwig. Literally, I swear to God, he literally just sent me a DM right now. So we'll edit that out. But yeah, I'm looking at it right now. I was like, wait a minute, that's the universe. He's with the government. Maybe he's got the NSA or the FBI tapping my phone. So he figured, well, I'd say hello in the middle of your podcast 3 seconds after you mentioned my name. But Mark Ludwig. Thank you very much. Mark is an individual that went through a really nasty custody and alienation situation himself, and decided to do something about it at the federal level. And so again, you've got these different efforts out there. You've got folks at the legislative level, state level, legislative, federal, sometimes local. Then, and I would say that's the reactive space, right? Something has already happened. No one goes to court proactively. So, how do we overcome that? Sorry for being long-winded on that, but how do we overcome that movement with our own movement, our own being American families, not guys, not gals, the American family movement and the promotion of that? How do we do that now?
You have to start with masculinity. I don't know if it's going to be, I know our circle's doing our fair share, but we can only get a hold of so many guys at a time. It's going to be groups and communities. Yeah, I don't know.
Very grassroots. It seems to be very grassroots.
Yeah, it's got to go back to the beginning. It really does. And I talk a lot about masculinity, but it's not the so-called toxic, poisonous, controlling, misogynist, whatever they want to call it. It's
Overbearing,
it's just the
you mean?
leading. There's a difference between leading and controlling. We need leaders, and we need to teach the boys how to lead over control. We have to go back to the boys.
Here's a dangerous question for you. How about the girls? How how about we talk to our boys, we teach men how to be gentlemen, how to be chivalrous, how to take care of a lady, certainly honor
That's kind of
other
on the
people.
woman. They need to teach women need to teach women how to be women again. But we need the masculine leader first, or that can't happen. It's up to the men. And whether it sounds like I'm controlling or not, I really don't care. It's the way we're set up. It's our energy, it's our polarization. You need that masculine energy to lead, which now a lot of women have. And I don't know what you see out there, but I'm seeing women are getting sick of wanting and having to lead. The whole dating, the whole relations, it's all got to change. Because right now it's just prostitution. What are you bringing to the table for me? Women want their makeup paid for the first date. And guys aren't any better. It's all got to change. It, it's a mess. And then whoever's dating will back me up. It's a mess on both sides, and again, the lack of accountability, the
I can't even imagine trying to date. I'm very happily married second time around. I'll mention here real quick to catch everyone up. I was married for 13 years, had another relationship for 7.5, and now 14-year relationship with two wonderful stepsons. So I guess that's third time's the charm for me. But it has really worked out really well, and it is quite the blended family. There on the other side of my two stepsons, that's a pretty big family. So it's working out pretty darn good. And I think the reason that is many. There's many things that roll into that, right?
that,
Because
but
you
I
you
mean,
could
you
be the
healed.
greatest guy in the world if the other side's just going to continually disrespect you because that's the standard they've been taught, which I think is part of the problem. Like you say, it's you use
Right.
the term prostitution. It's just what does someone have to offer materially, financially, and let's talk about that too. I mean, we as guys, we all want to be successful. We all want to really provide and take care of things. Sometimes we lose. Sometimes we get knocked down, and I think there's an awful lot of society that's looking to kick us while we're down.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, men want to provide, protect. It's that's how we're wired. So when we get that back on track, relationships will automatically follow because guys are leading again. It's just how we're built. I've lived both. I've lived the nice guy, contractual, trying to beg for love, giving till I'm empty. And I've tried now the leading part. And it obviously a night and day difference, but a relationship just works better when it's a godly, masculine, feminine relationship. Not saying that she needs to be a pushover and not work or whatever, however you have your relationship set up, it's getting back to what I believe is the way it's supposed to be. Because that's just
Right.
the way it works best. I've lived it.
I understand. Right. Lived experience. We know what mistakes we made. God, it's so complex. In this part of the conversation, I almost kind of wish that we had that neutral party, family therapist, psychologist, behavioral specialist, because what you're talking about, there's so many things that apply to our version of success. Our version of success means it includes approval, right? We do seek approval for those successes, and I think those successes are a lot less congratulated. They're expected, and even sometimes just put down by saying, "What are you looking for congratulations for or appreciation for? That's your job. That's what you should have done anyway." I went through a period of that, during our custody arguments and or alienation arguments. It was turned into a constant set of insults and justifications for the alienation and stuff like that. So, Cameron, you've put together uh, classes, some programs, some coaching. Talk to me a little bit about that. How long ago was that?
That would have been, I mean, I've been doing men's mental health for 4 years and got into the alienation probably 4 months ago, seeing how much pain and how of an epidemic it actually is. I was shocked.
Oh, very okay, very recent on the alienation front. Does that stem from your divorce also? I mean, is there an alienation issue there, or is it
Oh, yeah.
attached coming? Oh, okay.
I came from abandonment, nice guy, horrible divorce, alienation. I did. I've been through everything I help people with.
How how long have you been divorced, and how old are your kids now?
I've been divorced since 2000, well, 2013. The divorce took till 2018. And my children, I have three boys now, 23, 26, and 29.
Okay, so now you're that's interesting. The boys were quite a bit older when that divorce went down in 29. So that 19 for the oldest, right? Or
Yeah, it,
or
well,
17 if my math is right. Yeah.
2013 was really when we split up. So, but I mean, the alienation started at birth.
I spoke to one of the local judges here in the Las Vegas area, and she made a good point about alienation starting early, alienation starting at birth.
Yeah, when you
And
attract that woman, they're not dumb. They're smart. Well, whether it's a guy or a girl, they're messed up, but they're really calculative and smart. So they'll start like a narcissist. They start alienating you from your friends, from your family, from everybody in the world to control you. So when I mean, like for me, it was like, oh, they don't want to hang out with their dad. They don't want to hang out with their dad. Leave them alone. Just over and over and over. And your parents are too far. Your parents are too far. You repetitive, repeat. You start to believe it. Well, yeah, I guess it is far. Yeah, I guess my, kids don't want to hang out with their parents, but yet she would hang out with them all the time. So it's grooming and conditioning and
Definitely a double standard.
yeah, but that's another part of the awareness is they're just being who they know how to be. She came from some major abuse. So with my wounds, I attracted her, but that's where again, the forgiveness comes in. And once you pass that point, things really turn around.
You mentioned
So,
two two personalities attracting each other, maybe one aggressive, one wounded, or the other way around.
well, you attract your own wounds. So the nice guy attracts the narcissist. That's
And
just,
vice versa.
yep, because they're
Okay.
looking, a nice guy is a very, very, very good provider, protector. So they play off of that. They use you until they're done with you because they can control you, because they use sex, they use love, they use everything as a tool and a weapon. And
Or
as
whatever, or
that,
whatever weapon they can find. That
well, for the nice guy, that's they're searching for the love they didn't get as a child, they felt. They don't give it to themselves. So they're reaching out for the love that they feel that they deserve. It's a weird thing, man. When like I just went back into a narcissistic relationship that I've been on and off with for 2 years because I'm awake and I went in with my eyes wide open and it is fucking fascinating how these people think. It was another 3 months of just really studying what was going on, what my part was
mhm.
to fall back into the nice guy shit and let her control. And so I got a really good look at a relationship from, I guess, like the inside. And yeah, it's just it's a crazy thing. It really is.
You and I are talking to each other right now after the experiences we've had in life, whether it's our age, whether it's the marital experience, divorce, alienation experiences, other experiences socially, professionally. So we're coming at this conversation like we are from our experienced wisdom.
Yeah, we're standing on the other side of the river looking back, is how I like to.
So, so of all the times we wished we knew what we knew at 18 years old, how do we go back to 16, 17, 18, 22, 25? Not us go back, but how do we really communicate? My answer to this question is lots of conversation. But how do we go back into our youth right now and prepare them for better self-love, prepare them for better relationships and marriage, and then parenting? You know, is it is it developing a questionnaire that says, what are you going to do when you have custody issues? This is
Yeah,
before
they
people get
don't
married.
know. I mean,
What are you going to do when this hits? What are you going to do when that hits? And like I develop a questionnaire that's these pitfalls are going to happen. You're not super relationship and better than any other human and somehow able to avoid them. When I got married the first time, I thought that was it. I was going to do it better than anyone getting a divorce. I was going to have the perfect family. I was going to have the perfect this, the perfect that, no arguments, none of that other crap from my childhood, or and any of that. And it, I'm not going to say it couldn't have turned out worse because things could always be worse, right? I was very fortunate. There's no like abuse claims or allegations, from either side. My biological children have lived very, very favored lives, especially from a financial point of view, right? So how do we get these thoughts into our kids, this wisdom? How do you get wisdom into the youngins so we don't keep feeding victims into the family court systems?
healing what needs to be healed. It's
And
it's kind of tricky because they're young, they don't want to listen, but it again, self-worth. Need to teach self-worth from all this social media crap and narrative that we're in right now. I've
so in
studied
your
for quite a while, and it's the self-respect, the self-love, everybody needs to go back there and start over, or 99% of people.
I've mentioned this phrase, I didn't make it up. I think you'll recognize it. Ego death. How how important is ego death, and how important is it to realize ego death from the very first moment? Like I think ego death needs to happen right away, not, oh, that's a conversation for week 6, week 10. That's like step one, isn't it? To really
Well, the
embrace
bad
it.
ego, yeah, I mean, it's learned and it's got to go away. I think the first step would be finding a way to actually define ego to where everybody will understand it. I still have, I still go to my coach and ask him, okay, define it again, because it gets confusing. There's good ego, there's bad ego, and I guess for me, it gets confusing now and then. What actually is ego? Because your ego, you have a bad ego, but your ego is just trying to protect you and keep you safe.
Hmm.
So it's a little confusing for me yet.
I get it. No, I really get it. The alienation space being in, 4 months, like you say. Um, I was surprised at the amount of people in this space on social media, the different individuals, the different groups, organizations, and I kind of say them that way consecutively, just from the bottom up. There's all kinds of different versions of this.
I was
How
shocked.
how go ahead, I'm sorry.
Well, I'm shocked by how many moms are alienated. That just blew me away.
I agree. I agree. There are a lot of people that there are a lot of people that when they break up, they really take possession of those kids and they really discard the other parent. I'm sure there are all kinds of stories like we always hear about domestic violence and other addictions and other things where maybe one of the parents is risky,
Right.
is not in a right place. But it all gets, I've also seen a lot of conversations or situations where the alienated parent is truly alienated, and every other argument that someone can come up with, lawyers, the alienating parent or alienating family members, because sometimes it's not just an alienating parent, it could be extended family members as well that are really diving into the
Oh,
going to the
absolutely.
kids. It's awful. It's awful. So how do I mean, as a society, how do we make this looked at just as we looked at the civil rights era in the late 60s? Well,
Education.
ooh, education. What? How do we get into those fronts? How do we get into the big urban areas, school districts, and try to change their mantras?
There's gonna have to be groups and meetings, and maybe like you have these men conferences, you could have boy conferences, and that's a good question.
I think about. I'd love to learn more about what you're doing with your programs and coaching. So you've been in the men's health space for years, newly into this alienation space, and I almost don't know if it's fair to say newly. You got plenty of expertise through lived experience and men's coaching to fall right into this arena.
Oh, God put me here. There's no other explanation for it. I grew so fast that marketers are saying I've never seen anything like this. So I know I'm in the right space to help parents and help take the gun out of men's mouths. Literally. There's
Literally.
there's guys living in their cars. There's 2 months ago, there was two guys that gave up. They couldn't see their children and they took their lives. And it happens every day.
All too often and all too tragic. It is. Let me get a little personal with you. In your toughest days, did some level of suicidal thoughts ever enter your heart?
Absolutely. I had several thoughts of that often.
Yeah,
I think we all
yeah.
do. I mean, guys think we're alone, but we're all going through the same shit. And that's another thing. We need to teach men that it's okay to reach out. It's not weak.
Yeah.
Just suck it up and know that we're worth something besides what we can provide.
I also think the onus is on the leaders in this arena, guys like you, guys like me that are speaking out. I don't mean to put the leader crown on my head. I'm just saying we're leading, we're stepping out, we're imperfect. We're talking about the imperfections. We're also talking about a lot of love and a lot of support. So I think the onus is on guys like us to create space to be inspirational and forward moving, not necessarily just a bitch fest mode. Like if you and I shifted
I
gears
don't
right now,
tolerate that. It's that gets nobody anywhere.
if you and I were to shift gears right now and start telling, accurate stories about the past and putting that twist on it of how bad the other person is, we could just do that all day long, couldn't we?
It's exhausting.
It is absolutely exhausting.
Better to control what you control, which is yourself. Period.
Hmm.
And when you start worrying about yourself and nobody else, it gets a lot easier. It
It's
doesn't
real
mean
tough.
giving up on your kids or your shit for not fighting or whatever people want to say. It's even if they're most of the parents, if the kids did come back, they're not ready. They're not ready for the problems that this brings. The the years and years and years of enabled bad decisions from the other parent, letting them do whatever they want or enabling them to get themselves in a financial hole, in a criminal hole, who they hang out with. And, your kids are going to come back, but they're going to be angry. They're going to be facing jail time. They're going to be facing addictions. Everything that's been passed down is being passed down to your children. So the way to sacrifice yourself is to go through the pain and heal and break that generational curse.
Tough to do. Tough to do. T- Tough to approve of yourself when you're seeking approval from others, even
Again,
your ex-spouse.
validation. The world is so focused on external validation that you don't give to yourself. Give yourself the I don't I've come to a point to where I don't need validation. I don't a pat on the back for doing your job. I mean, because I do sales and stuff too with younger kids in construction, and it's like they need a pat on the back every 20 minutes. Oh, you sold a job. Woo, good for you. You're the best. It's like you're not giving that to yourself. It's just there's a lot of things mindset wise that can change a lot of things. But it's work and it's pain.
Yeah. Yeah. That self-congratulatory space is very, very important. And it doesn't, you're right. It's not a narcissism. It's not um, what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, self promotion. to
Well, it's
over
celebrating the little things. It's, I did this because I said I was going to do this and I did it. Fucking awesome.
I held
Not,
to my word and I got something done. I did my
yeah,
word was my bond to myself.
yep. And that's where that, we do so much for others, but we forget about ourselves because we're taught that it's selfish. But that's where it's got to start.
So someone's struggling. Let's come up with a scenario here. Someone's struggling. Someone's having a real tough time. The pressure's on. There's no light at the end of the tunnel. Everything that we're talking about, self-love, self-confidence, working on that self-esteem, congratulating. How does someone flip that switch on? How does someone start the process of getting out of that frustration?
Reach out and get support. You're not going to do it on your own. Not unless you have some, and even then, some traumatic, life-threatening experience. But you need a guide. Otherwise, you would have done it already.
How do we how do we get moms and dads to reach out when they're in the pits of depression, rejection, this alienation space, right? In this custody space, rejection, frustration, uh, uh, what is it? Flight or fight, the stress, the cortisol, what it
Right.
does to the body. Again, I'm answering my own question right now. I think we need to be talking with our youth. I really think we need to be talking with our youth, elementary school, junior high, and high school, that young, with appropriate ways to approach that.
Well, yeah, and like you were saying before, we could do more local things too, like, you know, to set up some kind of events like these men's groups have for events. Have them for kids and have fun things to do, but have it more of a group setting, I guess I would say, more,
I think I know what you're
can't even think of the word, like just like a little, like event for boys.
a retreat,
A retreat. There you go.
a retreat.
Yes,
Um, yeah, I'd like to expound on this with you as time goes on. Now you're back in Florida.
I am.
You're back in Florida. We're over here, Las Vegas, Pacific time and everything. What you're talking about, very, very grassroots, and I'm sure there's some other people around the country, if not organizations, that are trying to do just that. No, that's what the show's about. That's what you're doing. It's about raising these conversations and continuing these conversations, and then making these conversations as productive and positive as possible.
Yes.
I think all of the above. What's Cameron, what is the best way for someone to reach out to you and connect? You and I have had a couple of good conversations here, before today's recording. And I think your head's in a really, really good space. I think I recognize that it wasn't easy to get there.
Oh, no, it's not. That's why you have help. And I'm
But
not just saying that because, I'll never go without a coach again. It's just a life cheat code. You find somebody that's, well, you attract who you are anyways, but you find somebody that you connect with and has been there, and they lead you through it until you're at a point to where you develop your mind enough that you can get through this stuff yourself. We're not here to
did
make
you
people dependent on us. We're here
did
to
you
develop
seek
you.
did you seek something professional, do you think, or was it church? Was there a
Well,
first direction that you started to lean, or was it you kind of leaned into a lot of things at once?
nope, I got a coach. My coach saved my life.
And you guys still talk regularly
We're
now?
best friends. Yep, we talk daily.
Hmm. Good advice. Good
Whoever it
advice.
is. Yeah, there's a lot of shit people out in every industry, but there's a lot of good people out there in the coaching industry that do it because of what we've been through and truly believe that it's God's purpose for us. I mean, yeah, you got to make a living and stuff, but the feeling and the reward of seeing somebody get something or not kill themselves at night, it's unexplainable. It's I talked to my coach Jim about this, and it's not like a job. We're like you trying to get to the youth and change what's going on.
Hmm.
We're not in it just for whatever. It's a calling.
It is a calling, and um, a painful calling at that. You were talking we were talking about how hard is it to transition, how hard is it to take that step into commune, into connection, into assistance. It's real tough. But is that harder, or is a lifelong of anguish harder?
No, lifelong anguish for sure. Because you go through the
For
pain. Life is gonna always be pain. That's how we learn, but you learn to like pain too. Because that's how you grow. You know how you that's how you grow. So you learn to look at the light on the other side of the pain instead of the pain. The pain's just the lesson.
it's all
Pain.
mindset. So
Yep.
you're talking mindset there, right? How do we receive life? The good, the bad, the indifferent, and that's a very that can be a very stoic, approach to things. But I also think Christian. I also think the Bible has tremendous self-help advice for darn near every situation that you can think of. You know, Cameron, let me ask you real quick, and I almost forgot this. I definitely wanted to touch on. I'm gonna pull the other camera on for that. Well, looks like the YouTube here. We're gonna turn that back off. Over here, TV went off. So anyway, reconciliation. Did you have a part in your divorce, custody, alienation situation? Was there some real separation from your sons at one point? And was there reconciliation at one point?
Yeah, I was completely alienated. My oldest, I'm still alienated from his. I don't even really know it. I could throw blame anywhere, but he's living my life exactly to a T. So he found a woman through his wounds, and he's going through the same path I am. There's nothing I can do there. The other
Mm,
two I do communicate with now. They're both in different states, but yeah, we're rebuilding.
good, good. That's encouraging. That's very encouraging. I don't mean to steal your fire, but just listening to hear you say that, it was kind of an unexpected boost in my emotion. It's real good to hear that. I love it. That's a success story, man. And I hope for some reconnection with that with your oldest son. My situation currently here in February of 2026 is very much the same with my two biological kids, older at 25 and 23 currently. We do not have a speaking relationship. Um, I would like to think that they're doing very, very well, and I don't know at those young ages if they've started into super significant relationships of their own. Um, there's a lot I don't know. There's an awful lot I don't know, but I don't. You mentioned something earlier about some parents aren't ready for the reconciliation because there's still potentially major steps to take after that. Um, could have
Yeah, I mean, it's not
angry
just a
children,
big hug
resentful
fest.
children.
People think
No,
there's going to be anger and crying and pain and why, and you just you have to let because they're wounded. They've been. in this situation that they have nothing to do with for years. And God knows what they're told. So, who knows what your sons have been told? But it sounds like you've come to a place of peace and developed yourself to where they're not an attachment and you're able to
Uh,
get along.
I've gotten better. Um, those feelings of rejection and low worth were so powerful for so long.
Mhm.
Um, that they were a distraction from everyday life, the distraction from promotion, um, productivity, I should say, distraction from productivity, focus, that can really affect things professionally, and therefore financially. Um, and I have a daughter and son, uh, daughter first, son second, and um, I have my good days and my bad days. I have more good than bad, much more good days than bad now, but a big part of that was my stepsons. I started really recognizing that I wasn't acting like a healthy person for two young boys that need some good stability. I've got a great speaking relationship with both of my stepsons' dads. I think they're great guys. I don't think that I would be able to say that without my wife. I think obviously that the spouse, let's call it in my case, my wife, she's got the previous relationships, two kids. Could be the other way around. It could be the guy, and where the new fiance, the new wife, has a great relationship with original mom. Rare, very rare, right? So I'm really proud of my current situation. I feel very, very blessed. And that's not about me. I would like to think I play a part in it, um, trying to do my best, but the outlook of my wife, the outlook of my stepson's biological dads, the outlook of my stepsons, that all mattered. That really all mattered. But and every blended family situation has its own unique little dynamic, right?
Right.
But man, these are tough conversations. They really are, because to find that love and that inspiration in such tension where there's so many complex issues, the egos, the
Well, that and
fears, the
then
PTSDs, all of
not
it.
feeling guilty about being able to love your stepsons and not be able to love your sons. So you got to fight through that guilt too. Because that was one of mine is, well, how can I be a good dad to this child, but I don't get to be a good dad to my own son? Make sense?
100%. It's a
So you
feeling
feel
of
guilty for
betrayal.
being good to this child when you can't be to your child, and but you took on, not you, but we take on the responsibility of a new relationship, knowing they had these children and that we have to show up for the new wife and the new children as the man we're intended to be. And that's where it's hard, and you have to learn to be able to put down the alienation because your new family deserves the man you said you, again, not you, the
Yeah,
man you said you were going to be, They deserve the best of you too, or the best of us.
there is
So,
a feeling of betrayal. There's a
exactly.
feeling of betrayal that I am betraying my daughter and son
Yeah.
for time or events or commitments, devotions to this new family. The so yeah, that can definitely be tough, and it makes it 10x worse when one of the co-parents in a divorce situation is trying to move on to a new relationship, and that new relationship is not supported by the other spouse, by the ex. It's really put down, it's challenged in all kinds of anything from innuendo to scoffing to looking down. Narcissism is an art. Narcissism is a talent, and it is a good one,
It
unfortunately.
is. Yeah. And then when the non-toxic or the alienated parent, usually is the way it is, gets a new relationship and they're happy, the parent that's alienating is still the wounded one that doesn't want to grow. So now they're jealous. So now they're getting even more mean and more calculated to ruin your good relationship along with your children's relationship. So
Yeah.
it's
I
it's
didn't have my thoughts, and the way I express my thoughts about parental alienation, they were not that way when I was going through it. I didn't understand narcissism. I didn't understand alienation. I knew that I didn't want to go to the courts to fight some of the custody or the shared parenting issues that I was having for several years. I just knew that I was going, or I felt that I was going to get really ripped up and just destroyed even further in court. I didn't have the finances to fight. Um, the the argumentative talent of a narcissist. Uh, if you don't know how to fight that narcissist, they're going to beat you every time, because
it's
you're
their
just going to fall.
belief.
You're gonna keep falling into the trap of you're trying to convince this other person of something, and you're trying to do it in ways that are very genuine and open and vulnerable. I see we might as well walk into a battlefield in World War I with no chest
Dude,
protector.
they don't, that's one thing that I noticed about going back into this relationship for lessons. They don't think, they don't feel. It is the saddest thing I have almost ever seen. They think they love themselves, they think this, they think that. But again, she's still this abandoned little girl that abandons herself and had no control and now needs control over everything. And yeah, I lost where I was going there, but the
No, don't you
narcissist.
worry. Don't you worry. It happens to me all the time. I'll be having a conversation with someone. You and I were talking, or you and I are talking, and I'll have this thought, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to interject here. I'm going to make a point. I'm going to even look over to this camera over here and maybe do something. And all of a sudden, my brain freezes, like I just climbed out of a bowl and a bowl, a bushel and a half of marijuana that makes your short-term memory actually absolutely cease. The gun, it's
Oh,
like, oh my God, is this? I can't remember what I was saying. And then I'll go to edit the video and be like, oh man, there was this really key point I wanted to make, which gives me the thought, looks like Cameron and I got to do another podcast. We'll get you out here to Las Vegas, and which shouldn't be hard to do. It's never hard to get people to Vegas.
oh, that would
Get
be,
you out here to Vegas and visit, and I'll come out to Florida and visit. We'll do a live. Maybe we'll do a live group. You know what I mean? You're talking about
people want
getting these.
that. People want a Zoom, they want a live group, they want community. So that's a good answer to your question too. People want community. So,
Yeah, I agree.
but the
Especially the
live
lost.
things would be good too because we can do, that's another thing that, nobody's teaching boys how to be men, like the basics, like changing oil, changing your tire, cutting down a
Yeah.
tree with a chainsaw. It's everybody's buried in their phones. They need to get out and be men. Four-wheelers, dirt bikes, fishing, whatever, just out in the dirt. It needs to go back to the way it was when we were. Oh, I just saw something on that where we leave the house in the morning. We weren't allowed to come home until it was dark.
Oh yeah,
Parents
hundred
forget that
percent.
they had children until it was time, or the announcements on the TV. Do you know where your child is? Oh shit.
Yep. We definitely grew up in that apparent danger zone,
Yeah.
but we we're surviving. We're definitely surviving. I think that you guys like you and I are in place to do a lot more than just survive though.
Yeah.
This life has a lot of wonder, it has a lot of blessings, it has a lot of love in it. And for guys to be talking about love, real corny. Oh, can't do that. Hold on. Nope, can't do that. No, we're not going to do that.
See,
The
that's the
men
problem.
men have needed more love, strong love, honest love, honesty, good stable conversations about good stable experiences about what the truth is, what truths are. How many truths on micro levels, macro levels are hard to pinpoint these days? Like
Nobody
the
wants the truth because the truth is painful most of the time. So people don't want to hear the truth. And you're right. It just, that's part of what is needed is truth and communication.
yeah, yeah, and man, a lot more of it. The and long form communication. So with podcasting, one of the things that I really started to appreciate watching Joe Rogan, or probably like anybody else, I started seeing conversations from probably folks in the political arena that I may not side with, but the long conversation, which you never get to see on the news, whether it's Fox, MSNBC, CNN, Newsmax, doesn't matter. It's
I
all
don't want
too
to.
short. You're not, and that's what family, it's like family court. How are you supposed to get away with what you're getting away? How are you supposed to express real intent in 15 minutes? Where there's legal procedure telling you what you can and can't say, and then how you can say it when you want to say it. It's not a healthy environment. It's not, I would dare say, it's not a Christian environment. And so yeah, I would love to continue on the conversation. Cameron, I'm gonna definitely put some links in the comment sections here on whatever kind of main episode we drop and some of the shorts and everything. But um finish this off here with a good message about some of your programming and some of the messaging you'd like to get out to some of the fellas that would like to speak with you.
My main thing is just reach out. You know, we all have things going on. We're all in pain, and it's not a weakness to reach out. It's strength. And develop into the man you're supposed to be. You know,
Maybe maybe develop maybe develop into that man that we're supposed to be, the man that we're supposed to be, not looking for approval for the men that we're supposed to be from the sources that keep putting us down. That's a tough one, right? The sources that keep putting us down are the sources we keep going back to for approval. Hmm.
develop, I guess, into, yeah, that's a very good point. Again, which goes back to self-love, needing only your own approval. If you're not out hurting anybody, you're not out doing criminal activity, if you're trying to be an honest, integral man, you don't need anybody else's approval. You don't. You need your own.
It's real tough when the kids don't approve of you. That's a tough one.
Well, it is, but again, if you need that to be happy, it's now an attachment.
Good point.
And
Good
you don't,
point.
and then you're putting the weight of your happiness on your child, and they're going to feel that. And that's going to make them run. The happier you are,
Mm.
mom or dad, the more you love yourself and show it, not just by words, everything has to be action. That's what brings your children back. Not
I would say that's where my culpability lies in my alienation story, is what I did after an event, or secondarily reacting instead of responding, and then letting that build and stack on myself and push me down instead of rising above that. So my own ego was hurt. My own expectations of myself kept failing over and over because I'm not getting approval from those outside sources. So, um, yeah, I think a good part of my dialogue, the show's dialogue, is what you were saying earlier: personal responsibility. Do could what is my ex-wife an alienator? Yes. Is she also very loving and wants the best for her children? Yes. Is the amount of things that I could list to promote her well larger than the list of things I could use to denounce her? Yes. Have I really gotten the chance to do that? No. No. And is that in part my responsibility? Of course it is. It's real complicated, right? So where I'm at, 56-year-old guy, empty nester, all four kids are gone, two kids estranged, two kids off starting their young lives, two stepsons. So where do I go from here? 56-year-old guy. When is grandpa coming? Is it maybe never? Is it with my stepsons only? So I'm kind of starting to have those thoughts now, but I'm really trying to shift. So when those times happen, I'm there as a leader and not a victim.
right.
Right.
But
So
you're
that's,
worrying about the future that you have no control over, so that gives you anxiety. The more we
it's,
can be present, the
mhm.
better.
I agree with you. I,
'Cause
I, I really
you're
do.
worrying about things in the future that might not even happen. I don't think my boys will even have kids, but it doesn't matter. Whether you have grandchildren, whether you don't, whether you're alienated from, whether you're not, whether however this works out, it's the way it's going to work out. The only thing we can control is what we do, how we handle it, and how do you want to live your life.
Yeah.
You're gonna,
Yeah. There's a gal that I'm sure you'll see, Cameron. Her name is Annie Kamai, and she has a grandparents alienation space, and her grandchild is very young. This is a 4 or 5 year old grandson, so this is a very new experience for her. When she started talking about this, it was kind of the facts and figures, and this is what happened, and these are the tragedies and traumas. And I noticed she made a shift into personal responsibility, how to act, how to live, uh, now, and prepare for when that, in her case, grandchild is reconciled. And I think that's very powerful. This stuff that you're talking about is very, very powerful. Um, so yeah, I audience here, reach out to Cameron. We'll definitely have some links below. You'll see us having future conversations, and probably even see us, connected on our social media profiles and stuff like that. Cameron, I really appreciate you coming on, and I'll kind of take a chance and leap out and say something here. You announced before we started recording this was your very first podcast ever. I think you did great. I think we both did great. I think we ought to win a Grammy. I don't know why we weren't on the Golden Globes, so, or the Academy Awards. So we'll get there. We'll be on the Academy Awards of alienated fathers overcoming tragedy. I don't know.
it was fun. I appreciate you having me on, and I look forward to continuing this, maybe starting up some groups, some more support for the younger guys.
Yeah, let's continue the conversation and see where it goes, because it's all organic. And if the narrative is success in this arena, I don't think we need to structure it too tightly, right? Does it need to be some super structured, tight? Just the basics, like the basic virtues, the basic self loves, and improvement.
Yeah,
So
well, just getting back to the roots, I think is where it needs to go.
yeah, for sure. Well, all right, good sir. Again, I really appreciate it. I know I'll talk to you very soon here, probably over the next couple of days, like we always do on social media or wherever else. And have a great rest of your week. And let's see what we can do for some young folks creating some real successful relationships and very successful co-parenting and blended family situations if divorces are unavoidable. Making the best of what we got.
Yes, sir.
All right. All right, sir. Have a terrific day. Have a terrific week. I'll talk to you very soon.
All right. Thanks, Jeff.
You got it, man. Thanks, everybody. I'll talk to you very soon.